Okay, now how the concept of buffer zone arises. Okay, the fourth amendment of the National Park and Wildlife Conservation Act in 1992 incorporated the provision for buffer zone. Before this, the concept of buffer zone was not there, and the buffer zone management regulation 1996 and guidelines 1992 were also approved so that the concept of buffer zone could be implemented easily. Okay, this is the thing. How can we declare buffer zone? We can see in the figure also. Okay, objective. The main objective of my term paper is to overview the role of buffer zone in conservation in protected areas. Okay, methods. For this, I have just used the internet, especially googlescholar.com, and I have just searched the different articles by typing the keywords buffer zone, protected areas, conservation, Nepal, buffer zone, community forest. These were the keywords used to search that relevant article for my study. At first I did the abstract review. Okay, I just downloaded that article and I just focus on the abstract. By reading the abstract, I can get the information that it is relevant to my topic or not. If it is relevant, then I just reviewed the total content of that paper and just what are the information needed for my study. I just extracted from that paper. Okay, results. These are the protected areas and buffer zones in Nepal. This is the figure from Department of National Park and Wildlife Conservation. Altogether, 20 protected areas are there since 1973. National Park, I think we all have known this. So the buffer zone, National Park and buffer zone 12, Wildlife Reserve and buffer zone 1, Conservation Area 6, Hunting Reserve 1. Total area of the protected area is 23.39%. In area also 34,419.75 square kilometer. This is the data from DNPWC. Okay, next one is buffer zone of protected areas. These are the buffer zones present in our country of protected areas. Okay, between 1996 and 2016, government of Nepal demarcated buffer zones of 13 protected areas, covering a total area of 5,696.78 square kilometer, which has been playing a great role in conservation. Okay, now let's continue this. Benefits of buffer zone. These are the different kinds of benefits. There are different kinds of benefits: biological benefits, economic benefits, institutional and policy related benefits, social benefits. Okay, I have just shown it. You can, I'll not read line by line. Now buffer zone in conservation. Okay, different authors have their view regarding this. Just I have tried to list it in the table. Okay, conserving biodiversity in buffer zone community forest. This author Jana and Powell 2000 have mentioned this. Significant forest recovery and improved forest condition was found in CNP. Step et al. And 2015 and Pokhrel 2009 have mentioned this in their paper. And increased species richness of vegetation, density of forest, regeneration of plants, and increased wildlife was observed by the study Timal Sinha. Severely degraded natural forest of Sagarmatha National Park are restored with improvement of habitats, forest biomass, and greenery through voluntary conservation and conservation of local communities. Okay, this was given by this Sherpa 2013. Okay, improved forest in Langtan National Park. Next one is buffer zone community forest in the lowland provide an extended habitat for megafauna, including some of the endangered species such as tiger and rhino. This was given by Sharma et al. Next one is wild ungulates, including different species of deer, were found in the Bagmara buffer zone community forest. Study shown by Sharma et al. And that floristic diversity was found higher in buffer zone community forest than in community forest in Chitwan. These were the roles. These all points shows that there is a great role of buffer zone in conservation by various authors. Okay, next one is key challenges. Demographic pressure, ever increasing population in the lowland buffer zone, demand for timber and fuel would put pressure on the forest resources. These are the key challenges by Sherpa 2013. Next one is tourism-based economy and tourism infrastructure development projects heighten the demand for timber and changes timber market in highland buffer zone. Okay, these has also increased the demand for timber. This tourism and infrastructure development, which might create the dispute between the park and the people also. Study by the Sherpa 2013. Okay, forest encroachment and illegal settlements, particularly in the lowland, has been noted as a serious threat in buffer zone community forest. Okay, in lowland, mainly in Tara areas, this encroachment and illegal settlements is a serious threat. Okay, next one is occurrence of human-wildlife conflict in and around protected areas. These are the main issues in the buffer zones. We have been there. Okay, wildlife-related incident and human-wildlife conflict have raised. Study by Bowser and 2017. Okay, buffer zone community forests have also been found to interfere with the customary rights of traditional and indigenous fishing communities in the rivers. Okay, these traditional and customary rights of the indigenous people are also being interfered by the buffer zone. So there might be disputes between buffer zone people and the park. These are the key challenges or problems regarding the conservation in buffer zone areas. Okay, discussion. Buffer zone contribute to benefit local livelihood and conservation and can be reconceptualized as a powerful right-based model of conservation and conservation actors. As claimed by Sherpa, buffer zone has a potential to offer opportunity to indigenous people in regaining forest governance, management, use right, opening avenues for local community in claiming stake on forest resource and conservation. Park and people can go side by side. This shows that. This study shows the importance of improvement of forest condition habitat as leads to conservation of various flora and fauna by implementing buffer zone community forest under buffer zone user community. Hence, it is observed that park people relations should be made sound and the proper rights should be given to the buffer zone community forest users. Okay, I have come to my conclusion. Establishment of national park, wildlife reserve, and other protected areas leads to the conservation of biodiversity. Buffer zone concept in Nepal has been adopting an ecosystem approach to resource conservation and sustainable human development approach to community development based on self-reliance and community mobilization principle. Okay, next one is fourth amendment of national park is made the provision of buffer zone, and altogether 13 buffer zones are demarcated by the government. In the buffer zone management program, emphasis has been given on the natural resource management, where need of eco-friendly land use and people's participation in conservation for long-term sustainability and are encouraged. Okay, there's local people must be encouraged for the sustainable conservation practices. Without the participation of the people, the conservation will not be so fruitful. Okay. Buffer zone have biological, social, economic, and institutional benefits. Various buffer zone forest user group have been playing a great role in conservation and maintaining biodiversity in many national parks of the Nepal. With the implementation of buffer zone concept, there has been restoration of the degraded forest in nearby the various protected areas, and there has been study had shown that there is increment in the wildlife also. Okay, based on the reviewed articles, it is recommended to establish a good relationship between park authority and the local people to achieve a conservation goal of the protected areas. Okay, these are the references. Okay, thank you. Any queries, constructive feedbacks are highly welcome. Thank you all.
Thank you, Subhash. Thank you, Subhash. Very nice.
Raghu sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We all, I think, comments are in last day, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, yes.
because
Yes,
so
yes.
many times are gone.
Yeah.
I think not more than 10 slide and Subhash is presented more than 18 or 20 slides.
The slides. Yeah. So please, such advice and suggestions have to be follow. And please,
In last day of
Yeah,
our
yeah. Yes. In last day, yeah, we will go through there. So
Subhash,
please,
thank you for your nice presentation.
Welcome, sir.
We
Yeah,
we will comment in tomorrow in last day.
Sorry, sir. Tomorrow.
कमेन्ट चाहिँ भोलि चाहिँ हामी गरौँला ओभरअल
ओभरअल आज जान दिनु है, सबैजनाले प्रेजेन्ट गर्नु छिटो छिटो त्यो भने.
Okay, okay, sir. Okay.
Okay,
It
so
will be better
please,
if you give some feedbacks right now.
yeah, right now time is going to consume. Please.
Okay,
Right.
sir. Okay.
Okay. So
Thank you.
please, roll number 4, welcome. Roll number 4, please.
I'm here. Good afternoon.
Yeah. Okay. Go on, please. Very nice background, Jatendra ji.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay. Go on, please.
There is a big problem for slides to work, sir.
Yeah. Scene. Okay, go on.
Okay, sir. Namaste and welcome everyone, respected faculty members and my dear colleagues. Here I am present, Dr. Kumar Gole, for the presentation of my term paper presentation for the subject of wildlife and predatory area management in the topic of critical analysis of Forest Act and regulation of Nepal. The term paper is mainly focused in the Forest Act and regulation in Nepal. The outline of presentation are as following. Introduction, objective, literature review, methodology, result, conclusion, recommendation, and differences. Now, introduction. Policy making is a dynamic process influenced by changes in social and political regimes, institutional settings, and external forces. The government of Nepal has included regulatory enforcement for sustained supply of forest product in the country in its various policies, acts, and regulations. Forest Sector Policy 2016-25. Forest Policy 2019 and Forest Act 2019 are formed to guide the national forest sector, while the latest regulation is still being prepared. The Constitution of Nepal 2015 has defined the rights and powers of federal, provincial, and local governments. Federal government has the right to develop the national forest policies, but is not directly involved in forest management in the field. The general objective of this term paper is to critically analyze the present Forest Act and regulation, just focused in the Forest Act and regulation. Let's review. Before 1957, the government encouraged individuals to convert forest land to agriculture to increase food production and to increase state revenue through land tax collection. Many forest lands were also given as the birtas to the members of the Rani family and as jagir to influential officers. From 1957 to 96, the government nationalized all the forests in 1957 through the Private Forest Nationalization Act. Following the replacement of the democratic government by a partyless panchayat system in 1961, a comprehensive forestry legislation, the Forest Act of 1961 was promulgated. From 1976 to 1988, following the recommendations of the 9th Forestry Conference held in Kathmandu in 1974, the government drafted a national forest plan in 1976. To implement the concept laid down in the plan, and Forest Act of 1961 was amended in 1977, and new categories of forests to be managed by local communities, religious institutions, and individuals. After 1988 onwards, the master plan for forest sector 1988 provided a long-term comprehensive and systematic development plan of the entire forest sector by setting up medium and long-term objectives for 22 years. And it is called the milestone document for in the forest sector. The new Forest Act 1993 was solely concentrated on forest management and user groups. The act also classified the forest and Nepal into two broad categories, i.e. national forest and private forest. Methodology. The top level is mainly focused in the method of secondary data collection, i.e., previous research findings, publications, reports of other line agencies, and various relevant literatures were reviewed for better understanding, interpretation, and analysis during the revision of the term paper. Result. Here is a forest classification based on Forest Act 2019. The mainly Forest Act 2019 classified the forest in two types. First one is national forest, then the based on territory, provincial forest and inter-provincial forest. The management agency will be the plan formulation by federal and further activities through provincial governments. Based on management unit are the government managed forest managed by division forest office, forest protection area, community forest, collaborative forest, diesel forest, and religious forest. And the second type of forest is private forest, that will be managed by individuals or a corporate body. And the other forest types will be the public land forest and the urban forest. This act has emphasis the collaborative forest management system in Nepal. Provision of Forest Act 2019. Forest development in public land and urban forest concept includes a new management way. Forest protection area introduced removing the name protected forest. The users group shall spend at least 25% amount of the annual income in the development, protection, and management of the forest, and at least 50% of the remaining amount in poverty elevation, women empowerment, and entrepreneurship development activities in coordination with the concerned local level. The amount remaining shall be used in the users group may operate such forest enterprise, and ecotourism program is specified by the approved work plan on its own or in partnership. The forest enterprise includes wildlife farming as well. Provisions of forest regulation in 1995. The regulation 1995 basically focus on the determination of forest on various types, procedure of handing over the community forests, preparation of conservation and operational plan of FSGs, residential FSGs, collection, sale, and distribution of forest products, prohibited function in the forest, transportation of the forest products, maintenance of the record, and the operation of the FSG funds. Community user group, then there are rights, right to self-governance, i.e., communities have right to form a community forest as per their willingness, capacity, and customary rights. Community forest boundaries will not be restricted by existing administrative or political boundaries. And the right to forest management and utilization. Services can make optimal use of their forest by growing cash crops together with forest crops, and FSGs can freely fix prices and market their forest produce. Then the discussion, the transformation of the country into federal structure with three types of government can give positive as well negative impacts too. Due to lack of policy formation in all province and local level, the role and responsibilities benefit sharing mechanisms are still controversial and unknown. It's known that only the Bagmati province has from the province level forest act, and some of the local levels has prepared local forest acts. Laws governing land, forest, and mining all contain substantial areas of overlap that cast serious certainty on entitlements to receive benefits from the forest. Then conclusion, the new forest act recently implemented in the federal Nepal has many provisions of new forest types such as provincial, inter-provincial, public, and forest and urban forest. The new expenditure mechanism and the provision of ecotourism programs with enterprise development are present, including wildlife farming too. Due to the absence of the new forest regulation, previous regulation is still being implemented, which has many elaborated provisions regarding the prevention of consumption and provision of FCFGs, registration of the FCs, collection, sale, and distribution of the forest products, establishment of the forest industries, prohibited functions in the forest, etc. And the recommendations are as following: all the provisions and local levels should formulate the forest law as soon as possible for the effective forest resource management and utilization. The new regulation should formulate soon to clarify the provisions of the Forest Act 2019. And now these are the references which I will review. Okay, thank you very much for your patience, and please suggestions and queries are heartily welcome. Okay, thank you. Hello.
Thank you. Dr. Thank you.
Okay,
Nice.
sir.
It's nice. It's nice.
I use some short presentation, sir.
Yeah. Good. Yeah. So according to sir, queries. Okay. Queries and
I can
advice
start here only, sir.
will be tomorrow.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay. So please welcome roll number 5 to present here. Roll number 5, please. Roll number 5. Sound problem, a little bit sound problem. Sound is not coming. मनोज जी साउन्ड अलिक कम छ आइरहेको छैन आएन साउन्डै आएन प्लिज मनोज जी को साउन्ड आएन है
इयरफोन निकालेर बोल्दा बरु आउँछ कि
हजुर
इयरफोनको के समस्या
खोलेर बोल्नु त एकचोटि अलि आएछ
Can you hear me?
Yeah. आएन मनोज जी
sound is not clear
मनोज जी
we can't hear you sound कस्तो क्लियर आइरा छैन नत्र नेक्स्ट लाई गराउँदा हुन्छ सर नेक्स्ट पार्टिसिपेसन गराएर
यो सर साउन्डै आएन उहाँको मनोज सरको साउन्डै आएन
Roll number 6, sir. Roll number 6.
Okay,
रोल नम्बर 6 जाऊ न त मनोज जी
प्रेजेन्ट सर
टेक्निकल हेर्नुहुन्छ हजुर
ओके सर
ओके सुलभ ओके प्लिज वेलकम
yes am I audible sir
yes
yes sir
clear.
so good afternoon to respected teachers and my dear batchmates. I am here to present my term paper on the topic analysis of translocation procedure and its effectiveness in different animals. Okay, so this is the outline of my presentation. So simply translocation is a simple process of transporting one animal from one certain location to another location. It just involves three things: introduction, reintroduction, and restocking. And it is simply introduction of certain species into outside its natural range into a suitable habitat, and it is actually done to reduce overpopulation in existing protected areas or to remove animals from areas of fragmented habitat to more secure site. And actually Nepal government has launched this program in order to protect various threatened species which might be and are always on the verge of extinction. So these can be the objectives, which are the minimize risk of poaching, to establish second viable population, enhance the long-term survival of species, re-establish and keystone species in an ecosystem, maintain or restore natural diversity, promote conservation awareness, and for most important, for reducing the probable risk of losing entire population where population split is the best option. It can be best seen in Orna in terms of Kochitopu Wildlife Reserves. They have a direct threat in terms of genetic swamping. So this is the legal framework of wildlife translocation. It is from the NPWC regulation 5th amendment. It actually says that there is a technical committee that actually prepares a report. This committee does everything. It does habitat suitability analysis. It does study of the wildlife behavior and its life cycle, everything, and it prepares a report. This committee sends report to DNPWC, and DNPWC with its suggestion, it will send a report to MOFE, that is Ministry of Forest and Environment, and it is finally the Ministry of Forest and Environment that actually decides. It is the deciding factor. It gives decision whether or to not to translocate any certain species. And in terms of technical committee, there are obviously 7 members, and there is one coordinator, that is Somvijak, and it is Vice DG Upamanivesak of DNPWC. And according to Seton ATL, translocation must be, it is not just the responsibility of government, it must be interdisciplinary and in maximum people participation. Translocation has also been successful by wildlife professional to enhance or reintroduce population of rare wildlife, providing hunting and wildlife viewing opportunities, farm wild game, and reduce local human wildlife conflict. And these can be the procedure of data collection. Data collection of wildlife should be, its data can be collected, preparation and planning, and capturing of, for example, of sets. If we have to translocate rhino, then various tranquilizers, dart can be used, and transporting and releasing, obviously transporting in a truck, and it is mainly recommended to transport wildlife, especially in night, and releasing, and after releasing it there must be again the future monitoring. This is a general objective. It is, and that is analyze the translocation process and its effectiveness in various animal, rhino, orna, black box, swamp deer, and gharial, and various secondary sources, that is action plans, DNPWC annual report, NTNC, WWF, and various articles have been gone through. For rhino translocation, it is in world there are 5 species of rhino, 3 species in Asia, only 1 species in Nepal, and it is vulnerable, and it is in Appendix 1, and it is under Schedule 1 of Act. And according to FSS, it has been there is a target to increase rhino from 645 to 700, which has been absolutely accomplished. According to the latest survey, there are 752 rhinos, and in Chitwan 694, Bardia 38, Suklabhata 17, Parsa National Park 3. And up to, in terms of translocation, 100 rhinos have been translocated till now, 45 male, 55 female, and 91 rhino to Bardia, 9 to Suklabhata, which can be clearly seen in this table. First translocation in 1986 and latest in 2017. Total of 100 rhinos translocated. About wild water buffalo orna, it is actually endangered. It is on Appendix 3 of CITES, and it is under NPWC Act. And there is another target for FSS. FSS has set another target to increase the orna from 255 to 400, and this has absolutely again been accomplished, because right now the latest census tells that there are 498 orna total in Nepal. There was increased in 441 to 498, and it shows I think 14% increase. Previously, orna population was limited to coast of wildlife reserve. Realizing the high risk of the extinction, government of Nepal decided to create its second viable population in Chitwan National Park. With this aim in 2017, 15 orna, obviously 13 from coast of wildlife reserve and 2 from central zoo were translocated to Chitwan, which can be seen. And among these 15 orna translocated, 6 of them died in this flood. And in 2018, 3 calves were born. That gives 12, reached 12. But in the present, and at present, according to DNPWC annual report, there are 9 orna in Chitwan National Park. That obviously implies that 3 have died. And in terms of 15 translocation, 3 were male and 12 were female. About swamp deer, it is vulnerable. It is under Appendix 1, and it is obviously protected under Schedule 1 of NPWC Act. And Suklabhata has absolutely the largest herd of swamp deer and it has actually a very unique character. Thus, this park share its identity for harboring the largest single herd of swamp deer in the world, and in terms of its number, there are 2351 swamp deer in Nepal, in Suklaphata 2272, and in Bordea 79. And these are the date of translocation for actually swamp deer. In April, May, 7 swamp deer. In 2017, 7 swamp deer were translocated to Chittor National Park. And in May to June 2016, there were 5 swamp deer. They were actually transferred to Bordea. In terms of 7 swamp deer, out of 7 swamp deer, 2 swamp deer have unfortunately have died. They won swamp deer, and the Chittor National Park has assumed that extreme pressure on swamp deer due to long hour of travel and rising temperature could have caused the death for this highly sensitive wild animal. So during translocation, the nighttime, the traveling of nighttime traveling is highly recommended. Remaining 4 have also died out, and which only gives only a lone survivor, and that lone survivor obviously had joined the herd of spotted deer, and it has later died. And out of these all 6 swamp, out of these 7 swamp deer, total 6 swamp deer has actually died due to the stress caused by long hour of travel, heat exhaustion, and flood of August 2017. It is according to NTNC Annual Report 2019. Okay, from black bog, it is absolutely critically endangered in terms of national red list and appendix 3 of CITES, and it is protected under Schedule 1. And there were no black bog in Nepal, but Nepal government has found there were 9 last remaining black bog population in Bordea in 2032. From that 9 remaining black population, right now we have 346 black bog in Nepal. This is actually a very great achievement in terms of wildlife conservation. And in 346, it makes Krishnasar conservation area 230 for black bog and Suklaphata 112 black bog. And the black bog reintroduction effort in Nepal dates way back to 1977, where 8 black bogs, those are 5 male and 3 female, were translocated for the first time from Khairapur to Bagura Phata in Bordea National Park. This effort continued until 1992. In 1987, there was a second attempt that was made to translocate 17 animals from obviously Khairapur Bordea, followed by an addition 27 individuals from the central zoo to Bagura Phata. However, the translocated black bog could not survive in the new area, mainly due to predation and unsuitable habitat dominated by tall grass species. It is all according to Conservation Action Plan, site-specific Conservation Action Plan of black bog. And out of this, a total of 28 black bog, this can be shown in table. 28 black bog, that is 22 from Nepal Mini Zoo, 6 from Central Zoo, were actually reintroduced in Suklaphata, then Suklaphata Wildlife Reserve, now Suklaphata National Park in 2012. And in 2012, as part of national effort, in 2012 there were total 28 translocation of black bog, and it was actually funded by USAID Reborn program through NTNC. And soon after translocation, these animals started to breed, and new births were observed. 14 black bogs, that is 10 male and 4 female, were translocated from BCA, that is Black Bog Conservation Area, to the enclosure in Hirapur Phata. Hirapur Phata is actually the northeastern, I think northeastern part of Suklaphata National Park. Hirapur Phata, and this data, Hirapur Phata, from 2012 to 2015, there were 42 black bog. They were actually translocated. That can be shown in this figure. From 2012 to 2015, there were actually total of 42 translocated. That makes absolutely 122 black bog totally translocated till now. About Gharial. Gharial is critically endangered. It is under Appendix 1 of CITES, and it is kept under UNPWC Act 1973, Schedule 1, obviously. And we are studying its number is 198 Gharial in Nepal, that is 84 in Narayani, 82 Rapti, 31 Bawai, 1 in Karnali River. And in terms of its translocation, the first batch of 50 captive bred Gharials were released in Narayani in 1981. Since then, a total of 1246 Gharial have been released till 2017 to a different river system of Nepal, as shown in bar diagram. This bar diagram can be shown in here. This bar diagram is from Gharial Conservation Action Plan. This tells that from 1981 to 2017, Gharials, they were released. It is highest number in Rapti, at very lowest in Kali Gandaki River. But it is up to 2017. But up to now, till date, There are 1,500 individual total Ghadial. They were translocated and they have been set free in and these 4 main rivers. And it is according to NTNC annual report 2019, and 120 Ghadial in 2019 year only. In alone 2019 year, there are 120 Ghadial they were released. And okay, now conclusion and recommendation. In Nepal, yes, it is altogether 101 rhinos, 15 wild water buffalo, 12 swamp deer, 122 black buck, and 1,500 Ghadial has been translocated. And success rate of translocation is not so satisfactory because there is highly mortality in every category of animal, in every species of animal. There is high mortality during transportation, and after translocation also they have occurred with predation, parasite, degradation, flood, and many other. In terms of wild water in Orna in CNP, there is a main problem of tiger predation for Orna, and lack of habitat suitability analysis, yes, and presence of poaching with illegal trade of wildlife part also have seriously hampered the success of translocation. Yes, there is a presence of poaching. Poaching should be controlled. Now, what can be the way forward? Poaching should be controlled by providing additional reinforcement and strengthening the anti-poaching chain that exists in Nepal from CFUG, from Prime Minister, from CFUG to Prime Minister, that is from community level to executive level. In terms of Nepal, there is a highly chain of anti-poaching unit right from CFUG to Prime Minister, of up to starting from up to NTCC to NWCCC to WCCB and up to CBAPU, community-based anti-poaching unit. But still there is problem of poaching. Translocation should be done by government with full support and participation of people and partner organizations. Yes, and it participation, yes, regular monitoring of translocated animal along with intensive care should be carried out regularly and scientifically even after translocation. If animal are translocation, they have to be monitored regularly to know their present condition. So these are my references. So thank you very much, sir. Any queries are mostly welcome.
Thank you, Sulabh. Thank you. So nice presentation. So, yeah, your queries and advice will be tomorrow concerning
Okay, sir.
your presentation. So please, I'm welcoming roll number 7. Yes, sir. Roll number 7 now. Yugandhar sir. Roll number 7, please. Hello.
Hello, Susan Khatiwada.
Susan, roll number 7.
No, bhai, 8 garo sir, 8.
8 ए आइसकेछ सर
आइसक्यो ल।
आइसक्यो
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to my presentation on a topic wildlife farming in Nepal. It's a term paper of wildlife and protected area management. Moving on towards the introduction, wildlife farming refers to the raising of traditionally undomesticated animals in an agricultural setting to produce living animals for canned hunting and to be kept as paid commodities such as food and traditional medicine and materials like leather, fur, and fiber. Wildlife farming is defined as the rearing of non-domesticated animals for the purpose of captive breeding. It is a controversial topic amongst the conservationists in terms of ecological suitability and profitability compared with subsistence hunting. Some researchers believe that wildlife farming is unlikely to contribute to the conservation fauna. In 2003, the Nepali government launched a working policy on wildlife farming, breeding, and research under the 5th Amendment of National Park and Wildlife Conservation Act. Its mission was to promote biodiversity and conservation and improve the living standard of the poor and marginalized rural community by stimulating private sectors in wildlife farming for research and commercial use. Sorry.
Maybe net problem, I'm hoping.
Yeah.
Susan?
He's offline. I think he's offline.
Hajur?
He's offline. Internet problem. Maybe electricity problem.
Yeah.
So let's move on to next one, sir.
Yeah. I'm hoping so. Here, roll number. The next one, please. Next one, roll number 8.
Mr. Sherbahadur Buda.
Hazur sir.
Yeah. Welcome you. Sher Bahadur.
Is it
welcome.
visible, sir?
Yeah. Visible. So please go on. It's visible.
Welcome and namaste. Respected teacher, coordinator, module coordinator, and all my batchmate. Am I audible, sir?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, coming. Go on, please.
My name is Sherbahadur Buda. Today I am going to present some paper presentation, and the topic of my presentation is concept, status, and management activities of forest biodiversity conservation. Here are the outline of my presentation, which includes introduction, objective, methodology, result, discussion, conclusion, and references. Introduction. Forest biological diversity is a broad term that refers to all life forms found within forested areas and the ecological roles they perform. Forest biological diversity encompasses not just trees, but the multitude of plants, animals, and microorganisms that inhabit forest areas and their associated genetic diversity. Forest biological diversity can be considered at different levels, including the ecosystem, landscape, species, population, and genetics. Forest biological diversity results from evolutionary process over thousands and even millions of years, which in themselves are driven by ecological forces such as climate, fire, competition, and disturbance. The diversity of forest ecosystem result in high level of adaptation of feature of forest ecosystem, which is an integral component of their biological diversity. Within a specific forest ecosystem, the maintenance of forest ecological process is depend upon the maintenance of their biological diversity. Methodology. The information related to the forest biological diversity were collected from secondary data source. This includes published article, Convention on Biological Diversity report, National Biodiversity Strategy and Action Plan of Nepal 2014 to 20. Objective. The general objective of this study is to analyze about the status and management activities of forest biodiversity. Result. Status of forest biodiversity in Nepal. According to the Biodiversity Profile Project 1995, there are about 118 number of ecosystems found all over the Nepal. Out of total 112 ecosystem are forest ecosystem. The forest ecosystem are maximum in mountain physiographic zone of Nepal, that is 52 in number, and minimum in Tarai physiographic zone of Nepal, that is 10 in number. Status diversity of species. The table shows the overall status diversity of species in Nepal. Floral diversity includes algae 1001, fungi 2479, lichen 792, bryophytes 1,213, Periodophytes 580, Gymnosperm 41, Angiosperm 6,793. Faunal diversity, Platyhelminthes 168, insect 10,204, crustaceans 59, rotifer 61, spider 175, butterfly 664, moth 3,958, mollusca 238, fishes 232, amphibian 117, reptile 123, birds 886, and mammals 212. Forest type. Census 1972 classified the forest of Nepal into 35 types, and these 35 types of forest are further classified into 10 major groups. Here is the classification of forest, which includes tropical forest, subtropical forest, temperate forest, subalpine forest, and alpine forest. The subtropical forest and temperate forest are further subclassified into different types. Threats to the biodiversity, forest biodiversity. The threats to the forest biodiversity includes habitat loss of habitats. Loss of habitat is due to encroachment, expansion of cultivation, development of infrastructure, plant conversion, and conversion of forest land. Degradation of habitat. Degradation of habitat is due to overgrazing, uncontrolled forest fire, sand, gravel mining, invasion by alien species. Another is human-wildlife conflict. Human-wildlife conflict also the key threats of the forest biodiversity conservation, and illegal poaching and trading is also threats to the biodiversity. Management activities. The management activities for the conservation of forest biological diversity includes enabling policies, strategies, and regulatory framework. Another is participation in international convention. Participation in international convention like Convention on Biological Diversity, International Union for the Conservation of Nature and Natural Resources, Convention on International Trade of Endangered Species of Wild Flora and Fauna, Ramsar Convention, World Heritage Convention, etc. Institutional development. Institutional development for the management of forest biodiversity include parliamentary committees, government department, ministry, National Planning Commission, National Biodiversity Conservation Coordination Committee, National Tiger Conservation Committee, National Wildlife Crime Control Bureau and Wildlife Crime Control Committee, etc. Establishment and management of protected area. There are about 20 protected area, out of which 12 are national park, 6 conservation area, 1 wildlife reserve, and one hunting reserve. The establishment and management of protected area helps to monitor the wildlife, control the illegal trade and poaching of the wildlife species, establish preparation of species conservation action plan that helps to conserve the forest biological diversity. Management of forest outside the protected area. The forest is managed outside the protected area to conserve the forest biodiversity, which include participatory management such as community forest management, regional forestry, collaborative forestry, establishment of the protection forest, etc. Other institutions in in situ and ex situ conservation for forest biodiversity include conservation, National Zoo, Conservation Center, Breeding Center, National Herbarium, Botanical Garden, etc., which play the vital role to conserve the forest biological diversity. Discussion. In comparison to the National Biodiversity Strategy 2014 to 2020, 6th National Report of Convention on Biological Diversity shows the increase in both floral and faunal biodiversity. In comparison to the earlier reports, the forest area of Nepal was increased up to 44.74%. The overall status of biodiversity was high in Nepal, but the study related to the status of forest species diversity is still unknown. 6th National Biodiversity Report shows that the management activities have important role to increase the biodiversity status. Conclusion of my presentation are: biodiversity status of Nepal is high as its rank in Asia is 11th and in world is 25 position. Unequal representation of protected areas in the different physiographic region of Nepal, management of biodiversity outside the protected areas plays important role to improve its status. In situ conservation, species translocation, establishment of breeding center, establishment of botanical garden have considerable roles to preserve biodiversity. Here are the references. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Very nice presentation. Thank you. Yeah, like as our expected sir suggestions and query for tomorrow. Okay, will be tomorrow.
At last,
Yeah. So please, next one. Roll number 9 या 10. Who is? Yeah. Please come. Please. Who is? Devendra Chaudhary. Welcome, Devendra ji. Welcome. Okay, go on, please. Go on.
May I start, sir?
Yes.
Good afternoon to everyone, respected college faculty members and my classmates. Myself, Devendra Chaudhary, and I'm here to present my term paper on the topic rangeland and grassland. Outline of presentation. My outline of presentation starts from introduction and into references. Moving to the has defined rangeland as natural pasture land that includes grassland and shrubland. Rangelands are considered critical ecosystem in the Himalayas, which occupy about 60% of Himalayas landscape. The rangelands provide various ecosystem services that support the livelihood local people and environmental benefits. Livestock ranching and medicinal plant collection in rangelands are major livelihood support strategies for the rural people. Despite the significant role of rangelands in Nepal, they are under threat from various anthropogenic stresses, including overgrazing and exploitation of medicinal plants. Another grasslands means naturally occurring areas dominated by herbaceous plants, example grasses, herbs, shrubs, and thin stands of trees, which are grazed, browsed by ruminant animals without differences to land tenure. A wide variety of grasslands are distributed across the country from the Tarai lowland to highlands. Protected area of Tarai grassland dominated by the perennial grasses. Imperatus cylindrica are particularly widespread. The Imperatus cylindrica grassland is not only important for the biodiversity but also for local people who rely on an annual harvest of grass to provide thatching metal for their houses. To harvest grasses, local communities enter protected areas has been described as a practical trade-off between conservationists and local people. And cutting and fire have been promoted as a method of grassland management for a number of reasons. Moving to the objective part, the main objective of my term paper is to review about rangeland and grassland. And methodology includes second data, which includes the journal published and unpublished article and internet browsing. Moving to the result and discussion part, first of all, I'll talk about rangeland and grassland biodiversity. Rangelands are reservoir of enormous diversity of genetic resources. 5,160 recorded flowering plant species, 246 species are endemic to Nepal, of which 131 species are known to occur in subalpine and alpine rangeland. 700 species of plants, medicinal and aromatic properties. 41 species have been identified as key species, of which 14 are known to occur in higher altitude rangeland. Out of 8 endangered and vulnerable major wildlife species, 4 wildlife species like snow leopard, Himalayan musk deer, Tibetan antelope, and grey wolf are from the higher altitude. Out of 840 bird species found in Nepal, 430 are reported to occur above 3,000 meter altitude. And Imperatus cylindrica dominated grassland in Nepal, Tarai support a number of threatened species including swamp deer, spit hare, and Bengal florican. Small mammals are an integral component of grassland communities, contributing to energy flow and nutrient cycling and playing an extremely important role as seed breeders and dispersal and pollination agents. In Bardia, the Imperatus cylindrica dominated grassland support a high ungulate biomass and in particular dense population of chisel on the Karnali Gulf floor plain. This is the richest area of the park for biodiversity. A small population of swamp deer which utilize the Imperator cylindrica dominated grassland, are an integral component of grassland community. Threat to rangeland grassland biodiversity, overgrazing and trampling, conversion of grassland and savannas to agriculture, invasion of alien plant species, unregulated commercial harvest of medicinal plants, inappropriate management of protected area grasslands, inclusion of woody species has caused decline in quality and the surface area of some grassland habitats. And key gaps, issue and management range and grassland biodiversity are only limited effort to assess, monitor and manage range and biodiversity in Nepal. A few research studies on different aspects of range and ecology were conducted in recent years. Major issue in management of range and grassland biodiversity related to unclear policy and management, unclear administrative jurisdiction and management responsibility. Rangeland are legally owned by the Ministry of Forest and Soil Conservation, while their utilization by local communities implicitly associates them with the Ministry of Agriculture Development. Monitor and document the efficacy of grassland range management practices. Develop techniques for range and grassland creation, restoration, and enhancement which benefit rangeland, grassland flora and fauna. Moving to the discussion part, rangeland in the higher altitude don't only serve as an animal feed resource and major source of livelihood. Rangeland also provide various ecosystem services that support the livelihood and of local people and environmental benefits. The rangeland are under the threat from various anthropogenic stresses, including overgrazing, fire, conversion of grassland to agriculture or exploitation resources, and the rangeland sector in Nepal has not yet been addressed by the government. And at last, moving to the conclusion part, rangeland grassland are reservoir of enormous diversity of genetic resources, and they play a significant role in ecosystem services and livelihood of people in Nepal, but they are under threat. One of the major issues in management of rangeland grassland biodiversity relates to unclear policy and management responsibility for rangeland grassland. This paper review reflects that more important research needs to address issues and challenges of rangeland grassland management. And these are the references. Thank you. Any query? Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you, Devendra ji, thank you, Lala. Okay, for nice presentation. Okay, thank you all. Okay, so please, I am welcoming next presenter. Who is Mr. Next presenter?
Sir.
Yeah, welcome.
Roll number 10, Subhash Singh will present tomorrow.
Ghansham.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay, nothing.
Namaste and welcome to all in this partial sample paper presentation session. My topic is mountain biodiversity. My outline presentation is start with introduction and end with conclusion. Introduction. A mountain is a large landform that stretches above surrounding land in a limited area, usually in the form of peak. Mountain biodiversity is the biological variety and variability of life in the mountainous regions, and this variation at the genetic, species, and ecosystem level. About 24% area of Earth's surface is covered by mountain and are home of 12% world population. Mountains are topographically and geologically highly diversified. That's why there is a high biological diversity in the mountain. The mountain ecosystem in Nepal are comprised of complex of forest, rangeland, wetland, farmland, and snow-covered area. Many mountain ecosystems are host to high species richness. Mountains are key center of biological diversity, as well as the center for traditional ecological knowledge. They provide multiple ecosystem services for all the people in the earth. Mountain ecosystems are particularly fragile, subject to both natural and anthropogenic driver of change. They range from volcanic and seismic events and flooding to global climate change and loss of vegetation and soil because of inappropriate agriculture and forestry practice. Mountains began to receive attention during United Nations Conference on Environmental Development in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil in 1992, with a species chapter managing fragile ecosystem, sustainable mountain development in Agenda 21. Here are some literature regarding mountain biodiversity. Mountains provide 60 to 80% of all freshwaters and harbor nearly 50% of biodiversity hotspots and covers only 24% land area. Mountain ranges act as barrier to some organisms and bridge to other organisms. The mountain ecosystem provide key livelihood resources such as food, timber, and medicine, and some services, freshwater, air, climate regulation, carbon storage, and maintenance of aesthetic value. Mountains provide fresh water for nearly half of the population in the downstream and referred to as a water tower of the world. The ecosystem service from Hindu Kush Himalayan sustain 240 million people in this region and benefit nearly 1.7 billion people in the downstream. Objective my term paper is to review about mountain biodiversity and its significance and threat. Methodology, secondary data that includes various published and unpublished articles, journal, and thesis of various individuals to achieve my objectives. Result and discussion. Mountain biodiversity. Mountains are the storehouse of global biodiversity. They support nearly 1/4 of terrestrial biodiversity and half of the world biodiversity hotspot. The number of species in Hindu Kush Himalayan regions is estimated to exceed 25,000, and high endemism, nearly 30 to 40% of species are endemics. Most of the Nepal biodiversity is in the mountain. For example, 34% of the plant and animal biodiversity is found in high mountain and 63% in middle mountains. After 118 ecosystem, mountain covers 90 ecosystem in Nepal. About 63% of flowering plants that are endemic to Nepal are from high mountain and 38% from middle mountain. Mountains are also rich in medicinal and aromatic plants. Reason behind high biodiversity in the mountain area. Biodiversity is high in mountain region because of varied microclimates and ecological conditions, which give rise to wide range of habitat. Altitudinal and ecological zone provide plant with different exposure over short distance. Mountains have been less altered by human because of harsher climate and difficulties inherent in mountain region. Therefore, mountains are not only island in the sky, but also island of biodiversity. On a global scale, whole mountain system clearly exceeds the species diversity of the lowland. The importance of mountain biodiversity, half of the world biodiversity hotspots are concentrated in mountain and which support 1/4 of terrestrial biodiversity. Mountains are home to rare species of plant and animals. Up to 20 plant species that supply 80% of world food, 6 originate in mountain. Mountain provide more than 40% of global goods and services. The ecosystem service from the Hindu Kush Himalayans in the form of water, biodiversity, electricity, timber, and mineral resources. Mountain, island in the sky cover almost 24% of the Earth's surface and 12% of global human population lives in mountain, which provide goods and service to about half of the humanity. Mountain biodiversity play a key role in support of global environmental, economics, social as well as cultural sector. Threats to mountain biodiversity. Mountain ecosystems are fragile and vulnerable to change due to their particular and extreme climatic and biogeographical condition. The main pressure on mountain biodiversity are caused by change in land use, practice, infrastructure development, unsustainable tourism, over-exploitation of natural resources, fragmentation of habitat, and climate change. In addition to habitat loss and degradation, poaching is a serious problem in Himalayan region. Industrialization and tourism have led to pressure on mountain biodiversity. Climate change and its consequences is the most important threats to mountain biodiversity and its function. Shifting of tree line, glacier lake outburst flood, and melting of ice cap, depletion of wetland, and problem of invasive alien species are some of the likely impact of climate change on mountain biodiversity. Many species that are already vulnerable are likely to become extinct. Management of mountain biodiversity. Conserving mountain biodiversity and promoting environment-friendly economic development, promoting community-based ecotourism, Deployment and implementation of regional cooperation plan to extend the conservation of mountain biodiversity in transboundary level. Payment for environmental service, alternative livelihood opportunity through diversification of farming system for those who are dependent on forest resources. Transboundary cooperation and measures for preventing illegal poaching and illegal transboundary trading of wildlife. Conclusion. Mountain cover almost 1/4 of the Earth's surface and host about 1/10 of global population. Mountains are rich in endemic plant and animal species. Mountains are among the most fragile environment on Earth, but at the same time, due to their diverse vegetation and varied microclimate and ecological condition, they have high level of biodiversity and provide number of very important ecological functions. Mountains and their biodiversity are also serve as a main water supply and climate regulator and support 0.5 to 1.2 billion people in the mountain only, and even higher number in adjacent lowland and urban area. Mountain provide 60 to 80% of world freshwater resources, despite covering only 24% of Earth area, Earth surface. In spite of greatest value of mountain biodiversity, it is now threatened by human action, globalization, and climate change. And hence, proper management of mountain resources is inevitable for the socio-economic development of the mountain people, their respective country, and the world as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Ghanshyam Bohra ji.
Thank you, sir.
Nice presentation, and topic is also nice.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, okay. So thank you again, and please, I am welcoming next presenter. Next presenter.
Miss Susila Bhatta.
Yes, Susila will do tomorrow, sir. Yeah, so next.
Then Mr. Ayush Gautam.
Yeah. Okay, Mr. Ayush Gautam. Are you ready?
Yes, sir. Ready, sir.
Yeah, okay. So please come on. Welcome.
Is my screen visual, sir?
Yeah.
Hello.
Yes, it's visible. Please.
Okay. Thank you, sir, teachers, for the opportunity. My topic is critical and comparative analysis of the legal documents related to tropical megavertebrates. I am going to start the presentation. It goes through introduction. This is basically the scientific. This is basically term paper based on the legal approach rather than the scientific approach of reviewing the journal articles of the writers or scientists. So I'd like to start my presentation. Nepal is gaining massive success in the conservation of the tropical species, and from the data of 2015, 2009, and 2014 of rhino, tiger, and buffalo respectively, we can see that the population has increased with massive number in 2021 and 2018, which also indicates the success in conservation of the tropical species. That is why term paper is also basically focused on just the tropical species rather than other species. Increasing number of tropical vertebrates must be associated with the effectiveness of the pronounced policies in the nation. Yes, all the management activities of the country and all the management procedure are based under the legal documents which provide the way for their happening. Now, rationale of the study, as the number of species is increasing, similarly the human wildlife conflict is also going parallelly with the increasing number of the wildlife, and various environment policies related to the conservation play a pivotal role in formation of management activities of the country. And so this paper tries to pinpoint the loopholes prevalent in the papers with a recommendation for the future amendment. As we can see that the human wildlife conflict is increasing parallelly with wildlife species, so there might be some loopholes in the legal documents which we can amend in future, so that the both win-win situation is created on both sides of society and wildlife. And materials and method for the qualitative review of this term paper, I used following acts. As Constitution of Nepal is central act governing all the management activities of the country and is the root of every act and legislation in the country. and National Park and Wildlife Conservation Act 2029 BS was reviewed. Similarly, Forest Act 2049 BS was reviewed, and Wildlife Protection Act 1972 AD of India was also reviewed for the comparative analysis. Similarly, Forest and Nature Conservation Act 1995 AD of Bhutan was also reviewed. As Environment Protection Act only mentions biodiversity for once and never mentions the word like wildlife and conservation or protected areas. So the Environment Protection Act was not reviewed as the topic of the term paper. Now I'd like to move on to the regulations which I reviewed during my process. National Park and Wildlife Conservation Regulation 2030, Wildlife Reserve Regulation 2034, Buffer Zone Management Regulation 2052, and following on the management plan of the tropical region of Nepal, which have the National Parks and Wildlife Reserve was reviewed, and the major focus was given on tiger, wild buffalo, and rhino, as the population of tiger, buffalo, wild buffalo, and rhino is increasing massively. So these are the management plan that I reviewed during my process. Now moving straight to the discussion and results. Constitution of Nepal in clause 51 has mentioned to conserve, promote, and make sustainable use of forest, wildlife, birds, vegetation, and biodiversity. Similarly, in Schedule 8, it gives power to the local government for environment protection, wildlife protection, and biodiversity management. Schedule 6 provides the state government the power of use of forest and water and management of environment within the state. Similarly, Schedule 5 provides power for federal government to national and international environment management, national park, wildlife reserve, and wetlands, national forest policies, and carbon services. So what we can see here is the carbon services is given to just the federal government, and the benefit sharing mechanism among the government is not seen. And what happens here is the management activities is given to the local government and state government, but all the profit are taken by the federal government, and there needs to be a certain benefit sharing mechanism among the government, so that equal profit can be utilized among the management approaches. Then there is also seen dispute in the power between governmental bodies, as we all know that various natural resources like forest, water resources, and other resources are interlinked, interconnected, or intersected with each other's power between local government, federal government, and state government. This has been a major issue in today's day. Now, moving on to the National Park and Wildlife Conservation Act. In section 6, it mentions about operation of hotels, lodges, public transport service, or similar other facilities within national parks bound within a contract. And section 9 says the government of Nepal will not be responsible to compensate for any injury, death, loss, or damage within national park or reserve on entry. Similarly, states section 17 to 20 states the provision for license and certificate of trophy, along with the specification for trade, import, and export. So this section 6 and section 9 might impact some problems on the social aspect, as 6 gives a clear provides clear operation of hotels, lodges, and public transport within the national park. And similarly, government does not take any responsibility for death of people. So this might be some issue in today's context. Similarly, section 21 provides that provide permission to individual to kill or injure a wildlife provided of specific emergency condition. Section 28 similarly states that permission to kill the seize hunting dog on the order of executing officer before the declaration of result of the ongoing procedure. Similarly, provision of the punishment proceeding for the offender of the act and accomplices involved in killing or injuring of wild animal or bird. Every person included as offender of the act is provided to certain type of punishment. Similarly, talking about Forest and Nature Conservation Act of 1995 of Bhutan, section 5A states that head of ministry is provided responsibility for approval of management plan of forest under private and community management. And it means community forest is also management plan of community forest is also approved by the head of ministry, which is not the case in Nepal. Similarly, Section 7 provides rejects to provide a license for processing plant unless the department is satisfied that there is adequate and sustainable supply of forest produce in accordance with applicable management activity management plan. But any of the Forest Act or Wildlife Conservation Act does not comply of sustainable management plan in their acts. Similarly, Section 14C states the indicated amount of fine is affirmed as fine equal to the fair market value of the forest produce taken, which is not seen on Nepal, as Nepal acts clearly reveal that the fine amount may be certain, or like example 10,000, 1 lakh, but in Bhutan it is said the fine amount should be equal to the fair market value, which is which is fair to the ongoing dynamic condition of the market value, as similar price cannot be same for every period of time. Fine for every period of time. 10,000 can be fine for this time, and that might be some more during the time. Similar repayment procedure offered in fair market value can be seen in Section 18 and Section 21 in Bhutan. Similarly, animals killed in accident, it is certified by forest professor, may not be declared as offense. No any animal killed in accidents are included inside the forest law or wildlife and natural Parks and Wildlife Conservation Act of Nepal. Similarly, local visitors with authority to organize fire watches and team to put forest fire and identify those who have caused fire. This is wonderful act written in the Conservation Act of Bhutan. Similarly, Section 36 describes any person who commits an offense which is punishable under more than one section of this act, or which is punishable under this act, and also under other laws shall be liable for whichever punishment is greater. This also can be included in the acts of Nepal in further amendments. Similarly, subsequent crime of the offenders is addressed in this act, but no any addressing of the subsequently committed act or frequently committed act by the same offender is not addressed in any of the forest or wildlife conservation law of Nepal. Similarly, Wildlife Protection Act 1972 of India states there is national board formation in which Prime Minister along with other ministers of various disciplines and professionals from numerous disciplines like forester, professor, biologist, botanist, zoologist, veterinarian, and navy and various other personalities with different disciplines are formed in a single board for wildlife, which is not seen in Nepal. Similarly, Section 6 describes constitution of the state board for the wildlife, which contains similar member as in the national board from various disciplines, as national board is not applicable to all the states in India. So as Nepal is also in the federal condition, this can also be done in Nepal, as the state board can be formed, and which from where the member of every discipline can be added. Similarly, any wild animal killed or wounded in defense of any person shall be government property. Yes, this also we saw in the Act of Bhutan, and similarly we also just saw in the Act of India that it shall be property of government. But in Nepal, the wild animal killed or wounded in defense is not mentioned to be either government property or is not given proper addressing. Similarly, Section 42A provides provision for domestication of live elephants, which is not seen in Nepal. And Section 17A permits scheduled tribe for picking, collecting, and processing in specified plants for their bona fide personal use. There may be some acts addressing the Raute community of Nepal, but as in the Section 17A of India Wildlife Protection Act, specific clarification giving the right to indigenous people is not mentioned in any of the acts of wildlife and forest in Nepal. Similarly, Section 65 provides right to the scheduled tribe in certain region to hunt the animals, which also give right to hunt the animals. Similarly, Section 38B ensures agriculture, livelihood, developmental, and other interests of the people living in tiger bearing forest or tiger reserves. As the tiger bearing forest or tiger reserve is not clearly secluded in Nepal, so this kind of act also is not formed. which can be further amended. And for the reference, I also used Narcotic Drug Control Act, as the punishment mentioned in this act can be so widely used in wildlife, as section 16 states, in case any person who have been punished once under this act again commits any other further offense mentioned hereunder, he shall be punished for each subsequent offense in addition to the prescribed punishment. Yes, as this was seen in the Conservation Act of Bhutan. It is also mentioned in Narcotic Drug Control Act of Nepal, but it is not present in National Park and Wildlife Conservation Act of Nepal. So this can be amended, as we have seen a single person involved in many kinds of wildlife crimes in subsequent year. Once he goes to the jail, and after that, after he bails out of the jail, he again commits the same crime, and he goes for jail again for the similar amount of time for which he has been sent for the first time. So the punishment can be increased subsequently with the increase in the crime by the same person. Similarly, we also have seen that duplicate trophy of different animals like rhino horn are used to trade for, as showing as it is a real one. So this section provides a punishment for those doing transaction of other substance as it was narcotic drug shall be liable to such punishment, which shall be half of the punishment due to the actual offender, which also provides half the punishment of actual offender who does the transaction of other substance, making it look alike as the narcotic drug. This can be amended in the Wildlife Act of Nepal. Similarly, for conclusion and recommendation, yes, from the Narcotic Drug Control Act and Forest and Nature Conservation Act of Bhutan, proceeded for the consequent offense act against the act should be put in the amendment. Similarly, as we all know, National Park and Wildlife Conservation Act of Nepal is very old, and it's an amendment according to the dynamic scientific maturity which have been present now. It is almost 50 years old act, and it is not somewhat scientific. Similarly, fire control measures from Bhutan can be incorporated. Conflicting the power division in Constitution of Nepal should be solved. Again, punishment should be given for trading duplicate and look-alike animals trophies too. Act should include provision for the action to be done for the animal killed in the road accidents. Similarly, as of India, the Committee of Wildlife Board in India, Nepal needs to form the committee and incorporate this section in this act too. Yes, these are my references. Thank you.
Thank you, Ayush.
Thank you.
Very nice presentation, and wow, your slide form, so nice.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, it was so nice. Yeah, thank you again, please. Yeah, next presenter, please. Yeah, it's last. I'm hoping it's last.
Manoj
Datendra
Kumar Mandal was interested, sir.
Yeah, Manoj Mandal ji. Okay, then please welcome Manoj Mandal, sir. Manoj Mandal ji, please come. And it's last, I know. मोहित, भोलि गरौँ न है प्लिज। मोहित, भोलि गर्ने। मनोज जी को फेरि डिस्टर्ब छ।
मोहित को नि रेडी भए त गर्दा हुन्थ्यो नि सर, आजको कोटामा 12 जना हुन्थ्यो। ठिक छ हजुर।
ए ठीक छ त मोहितलाई बोलाउनु, मोहितलाई भन्नु।
मोहित सर,
योगेन्द्र सर।
हजुर सर।
ए गरौँ न त, तपाईँ गरौँ, मनोज जी को फेरि त्यहाँ प्रब्लम छ अहिले।
ओके सर।
Okay, be last you.
Am I audible, sir?
Yes.
Is my slide visible?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Welcome and namaste. And I'm today going to present my term paper on the topic financing and sustainability of protected areas. My presentation outline is introduction, objective, methodology, discussion, conclusion. Introduction. Protected area financial sustainability. Defined as a financial sustainability, the ability to secure sufficient, stable, and long-term financial resources and to allocate them in a timely manner and in an appropriate form to cover the full cost of protected area and to ensure the protected area are managed effectively and efficiently. Protected area financing is about more than the money. It involves mobilizing and managing funds to address the range of challenges associated with biodiversity conservation. In context of Nepal, sustainable financing in Nepal is relatively new paradigm and its practices are limited. DNPWC Nepal is only the first institution that works for the conservation and sustainable reuse of globally significant biodiversity through sustainable management of financial resources. The department holds a comprehensive approach of financing the environmentally sustainable development of protected area in accordance with National Park and Wildlife Conservation Act 1973. Various sustainable financing mechanism has been introduced in National Park and Wildlife Reserves, which are attracting funds, generating funds, and introducing the market-based mechanism. And also the WWF Nepal has involved in establishing funds throughout the world. Objective. The main objective of my term paper is to study about financial sustainability of protected areas, and methodology were included were previous research finding, publication, report of other line agency published and unpublished, and various relevant research from websites were reviewed. Discussion. Sustainable financing mechanism in Nepal. Fund generation. The source of protected area financing, there is domestic source, which include to entry from park revenue, where the entry from the tourist, royalty from the hotels, fees from the provincial services, fee from the uses of park resources and tourism, and sandwalder, extra, etc. The amount of revenue generation in protected area was mostly dependent on the tourism, with the downfall in number of visits by the tourists directly affect on the financing mechanism of the protected areas. And you can see the revenue collection of past 5 years and tourism visit in protected area past 5 years, where in 2072 and 73 the change in revenue and the number of visited is directly related. The variable trend in tourism and revenue collection directly affect the sustainable financing of the protected area. Due to this, most of the protected area need to depend upon donor partner sources for their effective biodiversity conservation and management. External source. External funds were pooled as a donation support or complementary funding either from governmental or non-governmental agencies. In the management plan of protected area of Nepal, certain budgets were expected from the government. For example, in the management plan of Porsa National Park and Buffer Zone, only 45% were expected from the government of Nepal. In Krishnasar Conservation Area Management Plan, 45.84%, and Kosi Tapu Wildlife Reserve Buffer Zone Management Plan, 61.77% were expected, and the rest of the budget were arranged from the external source or collaborations. A similar trend was also observed in the African countries, where the 3/4 of UNDA protected area budget were contributed by foreign donors. Most of the protected area financing for implementing of actions to conserve biodiversity in Southeast Asia was acquired from external source. Bilateral and multilateral fund. Under the DNPWC and Department of Forest, various conservation program is carried out by the support of bilateral and multilateral funds, which were given in this table. There are various programs which you can see: Tiger Conservation Special Program, Western Trai Landscape Complex Project, Trai Arc Landscape Program, Sacred Himalaya Landscape Program, Conservation and Sustainable Use of Wetlands of Nepal, and the allocated budget for the conservation activities. Partnership fund. Collaborative or partnership projects were instrumented in generalizing and mobilizing funds. Various conservation partners under the DNPWC, like WWF Nepal, ICMOD, IUCN, the Mountain Institute, UNDP, GEF, USAID, UKAID, Government of India, Government of China, and Conservation and Sustainable Use of Wetland of Nepal, etc., directly or indirectly contributing on fund generation and its mobilization. Private and community funds. Endowment funds of various charitable foundations like Ford Foundations, Ruford Foundation, Rockefeller Foundation, UN Foundation, Bill Gates Foundation, Gordon and Whitmore Foundation, etc., is extensively used in the natural resource conservation in the world. But in Nepal, only the Ethiopian Airlines do support in the plantation for its airfare. Fund mobilization, its management. The 5-year trends of fund mobilization in Department of in the National Park and Wildlife Conservation were given there. Only the allocated amount only the 81.5% of allocated budget was utilized. Insufficient budget expenses was compounded by inappropriate fund management. Financial flows were inappropriately managed either in relation to protected area financing or conservation priorities. Sustainable financing of protected area of Nepal was therefore attributed due to the persisting annual budget deficit, and it was exacerbated by insufficient budget expenses. Ecosystem services of Nepal. There are more than 50 ecosystem services have been tabulated from for protected area by Millennium Ecosystem Assessments. According to Kumar, he listed 21 major ecosystem services for the protected area of Nepal, where domestic consumption of water, carbon sinks, hydroelectricity, water and irrigation, etc. According to the example taken from Shivapuri Nagarjuna National Parks, the domestic consumption of water annually brings about equivalent of net financial amount of 305.69 million Nepali rupees, with support for the protected area management. In an effort to boost park income through the visitor fee, Nepal government has recently increased the park entrance fee, depending on including the charges for various nature-based activities, which include payment for ecosystem services within the protected areas. Conclusion: various financing mechanisms have been introduced in the protected area of Nepal. However, the coverage of this mechanism is limited and lacking sustainability. Particular sources of unsustained financing are located in protected area of remotes, mainly in Himalayan region, and those having a very low number of visitors. Diversified funding base can be better enable protected area managers to cope with risks and uncertainty and provide a measure of security should any single source of funding fail. The discussion revealed that the DNPWC was relying on external support for its full-fledged program implementation, and the sheer utilization of budget was insufficient. Formulation of appropriate legal and policy framework is recommended to tap this potential financial source to sustain the protected area in Nepal. Use financial and business planning tools, establish more supportive economic policy and market condition, and involve a wider range of stakeholders in protected area management, directly or indirectly help in the protected area financial sustainability. These are my references. Thank you. Any suggestions? So I did not.
Okay. Thank you. Please. Yeah. Anyone? Anyone?
Manoj Mandal
Of today's quota. Manoj Mandal ji like boli garau na.
प्रब्लम भरे अर्को तयारी हुन्छ भने अब एउटा कोटा छ के सर आजको 12 जनाको मध्ये 11 जनाको भयो
हजुर
हुन्छ भने नत्र अब अरूलाई त कर लाउने कुरो भयो
योगेन्द्र सर आजको कोटा सर फुल हुन लाग्यो
यसमा चाहिँ त्यो आजको फिडब्याक्स कमेन्ट्सहरु चाहिँ अहिले दिदा होला नि सर र
त्यो पनि हुन्थ्यो आजको भाग आजको भयो नि पुरस्कृत है
त्यो गर्दा अलि राम्रो होला कि भने त्यो गर्दा
अरु कोहीको तयारी हुनुहुन्छ त
मनोज दाइले अघिदेखि म भन्छु भने जस्तो लागेको थियो
नै मनोज भाइको ल्यापटप प्रब्लम भयो रे भर्खर